Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for joining. I am looking forward to this episode, you guys. My name is Bianca Williams, and this is my podcast where we have special guests sharing their stories, sharing wisdom. And this week is not going to disappoint. We're going to be getting into some amazing things. We have a phenomenal guest who's doing some wonderful things in this world. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today is living your best life with any budget. We're also going to be talking about a growth mindset. And so I'm super excited. I always like topics like this, especially for adults or people who are trying to get to the next stage in life. I love that we're going to be crossing just it's never too late and things like that. But let me just let you guys learn a little bit more about our guest. Her name is Teresa Ross. She is kind of a person who does it all. She wears a lot of hats, mom, wife. She is a business owner. She is hitting all of these different markers, and she has so much going on. I'm going to give her a second to just explain what she's doing, what's coming up for her, and just who Teresa is. Teresa, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you for just giving you me this opportunity. I am so honored that you saw something in me that I could provide to your listeners. I would say
Absolutely.
I feel as though I'm just an everyday person, but I definitely don't mind share some insight into my world. What motivates me to live, to enjoy life, and what keeps me going. So I have an employer. My 9 to 5 is in higher education, dealing with Title for funds and ensuring we are in compliance with federal regulations. This also involves ensuring our systems and operations are effective and managing our day-to-day operation within the organization. It's not the most exciting part of my life, but it helps me in affording, my lifestyle. And of course, as you
Absolutely.
mentioned so nicely, I am a small business owner. My company's name is called Decor More in Store. So make sure you guys look me up. I'm in the Metro Detroit area. It is an event design and decor company. And this company allows me to use my creative outlet and express myself. I really enjoy making memories and then ensure my clients have memorable events too, of course. This is my passion. It
Mhm.
has allowed me additional resources to expand my budget and to enjoy, my extracurricular activities, which I like to do quite often. My top motivators in life, I would say, are my two children. I have an adult son who's 22 and a daughter who's 12. And I really just like to reap all the benefits that life has afforded me. I try and grab hold of any moment in life just to feed off of positive energy, ride the wave, that wave of happiness that we all look forward to. I like to enjoy the outdoors, warm weather, tropical vacations. I enjoy family time and traditions, like old and new. I recently got into puzzles, so I enjoy puzzles. I know as a kid, of course, we all did puzzles, but now it's really been helpful and helping me to relax my mind. I enjoy books, meaningful conversations like we're having now, music, especially live concerts. I do like
Mm.
to exercise too. I did definitely see the benefit of exercise and either indoors or outdoor activities like here seasonally. When I get a chance, I really like to grab a hold of my spring and summer just to get outdoors and enjoy things like hiking, even ride my bike. And then more so indoors, I like any activities involving music and dancing. Dancing is my thing as well to stay physically active. And then
I
in regards to
love
what I
that.
have coming up, so well, pretty much just living, navigating life. Some changes in my life, kind of going back to revisiting my goals. Seasonally, I do like to do some goal planning, making revisions in my household, my family life, and in my company. So now that we're going into the fall, I'm just looking at some new ways to like grow my business. And I would say, I do still have my full time employer, so I'm not trying to dive too deep into expansion, but I do want to do some things so that I can still generate income for many years to come. I do really love what I do, so I want to just take on maybe some additional training, knowledge, even business resources, so I can see how my small business grows a little bit more for me.
Wow, I love that. I love that for you. I'm excited to see what's coming next. Your work is
Mhm.
beautiful.
Thank
Kind of
you.
what you said, it's not only what you're doing for other people, but what you're doing for yourself. I think that one of the most powerful things that we're going to be getting into today is just kind of noticing that as an adult, you get so many messages about what it means to be an adult. And we
Mhm.
grew up in the same community and we see people live lives in various ways and focus on different things, priorities, all of that kind of stuff. But it's really refreshing to be all of these years later at this big age of, I'm not telling y'all how old we are, but we grow, right?
Yeah, I already said how old my children are, so I think that
I
might
know,
give.
right? That don't mean nothing because she don't even look like she got no adult children. So hey, but we don't even know. Like we gonna leave it at that. But
Yeah, yes.
just being able to say like I'm embracing, just enjoying the journey of life and experiencing things, and just living your best life. I feel like that totally represents who you are,
Mhm.
especially the way you just talked about life. So I love that we're going to be getting into that because it seems like an inspiring journey for somebody else to hear. And so we talk about living your best life and what that means. And that looks different for different people. And
Mhm.
so I want to ask you, what does living your best life mean to you? And how can you enjoy it at any age and with any budget?
Okay. Well, I guess starting off with living your best life. I mean, this statement to me means like finding reward in what you do, accomplishments, enjoyment, and fulfillment in just about
Mhm.
every facet of life. I would say it's also taking an active and lead role in positioning yourself for success. To live your best life, I feel like you aren't just concerned with succeeding in like your income or your employment, but you have to think about the whole picture. Just finding positive ways to spend your time wisely. So, while you still have breath and life in you, you can really capture every moment. I would say some things that I think are at the top of my list where I feel like I'm in a moment where I would say living a good and rewarding life is that I'm well enough physically and mentally to
Mhm.
engage and perform in life.
Mhm.
I understand who I am and what I want in life. Understanding is so important. And I don't have everything figured out. I don't have,
Mhm.
my plans for 30 years out just mapped out, but I know what I'm doing now and how that might benefit me or how it might allow me to grow and live a good life later on in life and really seek happiness. I like to live in a moment also. Thinking about my future lifestyle, sometimes you just got to take a step back and say, what are you doing now in this moment? And what brings you a reward and enjoyment? I know what it takes to get what I want. I know that work is required in order to live your best life. And I understand it's not easy to be obtained, just going about every day just the same. And like I said, I don't have a secret recipe to living your best life, but I do have some understanding of reward in life. Having your own perspective of what you want out of life is very important. Your perception of living well, of course, that can vary by age, circumstance, finances, relationships, and such. But if we look at just achieving this, regardless of like your age or budget, I would say it's going to be different for different people in different stages of their lives. Someone in their 70s is going to have a different perspective than someone in their 20s.
For sure.
You definitely can see, even in our life right now, I say kind of more so in our prime, we still have dependents and children. For me, my children are a bit older. So in this stage
Mhm.
of my life, I think living my best life doesn't mean like letting go of the reins of my children, my dependents, but it means I have a little bit more independence.
Mhm.
I think for a lot of us around this time, we have careers which can afford us to enjoy some of the good things in life.
Mhm.
However, when you look at someone in their 20s, that person they may be a little bit more limited in their budget and finances. However, they have more freedoms because they might not have a children, a household. They might still be dependents of
That's a
their
good point.
parents. So a few key things that I would say just to help and to achieve it, regardless of your age and budget, is knowing what you want, who you are at different stages in your life cycle
Mhm.
is important. I would say also, you want to consider what is living. the life that you want and what it takes or what it requires. I would say also think about what is holding you back. So if you're not so satisfied or you don't feel like my life is going right, everything around me
Yeah.
seems to be falling apart. Think about your, what's holding you back? What are those barriers? Is it physical health? I mean, mind and body wellness is important at any age. However, I know that at different stages of life, when you might get a little bit older, there are things that can decline in your physical health. So I would
Hmm.
say evaluate that. Try and try and find the things that you can do with yourself, and like I said, and really seek now for the 20, 30 year olds. Take care of your body, for certain. Take care of your body so that you can live well and later on in life. And then another thing is like, what budgetary restraints do you have? With that being said, I kind of mentioned already about like family, children, those things, household bills, all those expenses can kind of hold you back. But where can
Hmm.
you take from that to move things around? Of course, you don't want to say, I like going to on a nice trip, so I'm just gonna go. No, you still don't want that collectors and bill collectors knocking at your door. You don't want, those shut off notices because
You
that's
do
not living
not.
your best life
It's not.
if you can't take care of your basic responsibilities. Um,
Hmm.
so just look at ways that you can lift restraints. And also think about, I guess, places, things that you want to do, how you want to live,
Hmm.
and look at those restraints. I would say again, and just do things that you do things in a way that you can find some kind of balance.
Yeah. I love so much about what you just said. I mean, some of the key things that really stood out to me was like knowing who you are and being just, I don't know, aware and
Mhm.
reasonable to your situation, thinking about what you want. So those are three things that stood out to me because knowing who you are allows you to be able to block out the noise. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that what people say isn't important or the advice people give is not important, but to your point, like depending on what age you are, different messages are going to sink in differently. And so stuff that I'm hearing now is going to be different than things that I heard at 20, or it's going to mean something different than what it meant at 20. And sometimes people, can tell you messages that feels helpful for them and what, they may are really trying to help you understand and accomplish with your life, but may not make as much sense to you. I know one of the messages I grew up hearing was to sacrifice and to, just kind of stay almost in this box. And I don't know about you, but that just never worked for me. I just couldn't live in this box. I couldn't just be like, well, this is, this community is just my existence forever. And
Mhm.
even if I kind of branch out of it, that's just it. And so it's not that they weren't saying things that was helpful. It's just that's how like life worked for them. And I wanted to be able to live outside of that. So knowing who you are kind of helps you almost just be okay with that my goals and my values may not align completely with somebody else's. It doesn't mean it's wrong or that I can't still accomplish like big goals. It just means that, I just have a different kind of inspiration and drive and motivation to live life a different way. And plus, we live life long enough to know that you can do all of the right stuff and still, have things set you way back. You can do all of the wrong stuff and still have things turn around for you. And so just being really open to that life is going to life. And then some of the other things that you said that I really, really loved about your message was when you like you're responsible, like you talked at the very beginning, the first thing you said was I got a 9 to 5. So, and it helps me afford the life that I want. You're not saying just go out here and live recklessly and just, just be like YOLO, right? And we hear that sometimes. Just, ball out, whatever, and then don't care about the bills. No, we have families, we have, responsibilities, we have these different things. And so being okay with having fun and enjoyment with the things that you can afford to do, the things that are around you, the things that are accessible to you, and not necessarily feel like it's a bad thing that you're not doing the thing that somebody else who makes like maybe 10 times more than you is doing because that's working for their life. But in that same point, the third thing you said, or the third thing I was, really, really resonated with me that you said was thinking about what you want, you know what I mean? Because you could set goals for, if you like, man, I really want to live this, go to, I don't know, Italy. I just had a lot of friends go to Europe this year. And so I'm like, if you want to go to Europe and you know, okay, that's a more expensive plane ticket, that may be more expensive cost because of all of the events and activities that I want to do when I get over there. You can plan that in advance. And if
Mhm.
you are living a life to where you really can't afford to do that, it might be an opportunity to go back to your goals to see what you want to do to grow your income, your
Mhm.
professional earnings, and all of those kind of things. Like, it is never too late. You do not have to stay in the box and just say, well, I'll just settle for this life and this life only. And I love
Mhm.
that you're kind of this example, because you're saying, like, I'm doing this, right? You're kind of this example of living your best life and being conscious of your budget and still enjoying it. I don't know what your budget is, because when you're living your best life, it looks like you're on top of the world, and that's how you
Mhm.
should feel. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
did provide some tips, in terms of just how to live a fulfilling lifestyle on a limited budget. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
Mhm.
Because I do understand that people are here to get those tips, and they like, man, how is she living on top of the world, and what can I do a little different? And you might
Mhm.
have already said them, but I just wanted to invite you to, add anything to that if you would like.
Well, yeah, definitely. I can add something there. So, I mean, we already are. Or you also mentioned as well, when you look at what you see as a life fulfilled, um, there might be things that you enjoy that cost. We know going outside costs, right? Like
Mm,
as soon as you step out the door. So the biggest thing is just taking a moment to evaluate your lifestyle, your source of income, your expenses. It seems like a daunting task to create a budget, but I suggest creating a budget because I don't go and say, oh, I'm going to go here today, here tomorrow, this place and the other, 7 days a week. I'm going to be out, dinner, cocktails with friends, brunch here. I can't do that because I do have a budget. As you
mm-hmm.
stated, my income, on the other hand, I'm able to sustain the lifestyle I want. And that can vary for anyone else, but create a budget because you just want to stay on top of making sure you're not living your best life at a cost to the other parts of your life.
Yeah,
Um,
balance.
I would definitely say too, yeah, seek info and knowledge, alternatives to spending a lot of money.
Yes.
Something you mentioned about the trip. Like I love to travel, so this resonates with me. And traveling is fun, but it's not always affordable to everyone. Me myself, like I haven't always been able to afford to go places, but I still went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the way that I did that is because I wasn't concerned with like I gotta fly Delta everywhere I go. Nope, that wasn't my.
Right.
I also knew that there are places within and around within Michigan where I am. There's
Mm-hmm.
places close by that's drivable distance.
Mm-hmm.
So when my household, when we couldn't afford just to hop on a flight because I had a
Mm-hmm.
family of four, it was okay. Let's take a road trip. Let's
Mm-hmm.
take a weekend trip. Let's do something outside of the norm. We know we have a vehicle. We can go rent one too if we want it, but we know we can afford the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Look at and different alternatives to just, like I said, fly in Delta or staying at the most expensive hotels and resorts. But
Right.
check out hotels.com, Airbnb. That's what I would do, Verbo,
Mm-hmm.
whatever was necessary. And then when I say seek info too, like even with travel, like we watch YouTube for anything, music.
Yeah.
YouTube has a lot of travel on a budget content. There are people all the
Yes.
time telling you, hey, you can go here. And I kind of look at that like, oh, that is a good place to go. Or I'll Google places around that don't cost a lot, but you get the experience. Like I
Yeah.
said, if I like to be outdoors and just getting around town, there's different
Mm-hmm.
places and spaces you can go and seek and have fun without necessarily spending a lot of money. And
Mm-hmm.
I would also say give up something to get something. So I'm gonna try and minimize this, but I'm gonna use for example, people want to know like, how do I apply this? Of course, it takes discipline. You
Mm-hmm.
got to give up something to get something. Let's look at a woman's beauty regimen. I'll use that for example because we're women.
Right.
We can visualize. We know how much it costs to expense and keep up with. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that beauty regimen. So I don't do all of these things, but I know there are people who they have a regular every 2 week hair appointment, nails, a nail salon appointment, waxing, maybe even lash extensions, or
Mm-hmm.
even makeup every now and then again. Like they have a lot of friends and people who celebrate stuff. So they might have a regular makeup artist who does their month. They might need to call that person at least one time a month. I would say there are ways that you can generate there are ways that you can generate income, but when you can't generate that income and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have it to give, you got to look in other areas in your life where you can maybe spend as much.
Yeah.
Like for myself, I've bought like on Amazon or I've bought like the gel nail polish, the whole
Mm-hmm.
kit, and manicure, pedicure kits, and I've done my nails myself. If you think about how much it even takes just to go to the nail salon to get a mani and
Oh
pedi,
my gosh.
you might think like, okay, if I'm doing this at least every 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks, some
And
people, yes, for me, like I might, I say minimal, you might be at like $90, depending on who your
mm-hmm.
artist is. Some people are spending maybe 150. But
Mm-hmm.
if you think about that over a year's time, and you really want to say you want to get to the trip to Italy, like you mentioned, you might
Mm-hmm.
be able to close to $1,500 just maybe doing your own nails.
Right.
You might have to learn some technique, and it might not be as fancy, but it'll look still good and polished. If you do it enough, you might be an expert at doing your own manicures. Uh,
Yeah.
I would say even the idea of like I've gotten like a lash extension before, and they really cost like a minimum $125 for
Right.
those. And then there's some people who regularly gets that, and and then they're still trying to figure out how they go get to Italy. I can't even get
Yeah.
it. Italy,
I know. I was like, wait, let me just say Europe.
up to Europe. They're trying to get to Europe. That's what it was said. And that 125 plus a refill in like 3 weeks is $75. That might add up to another 1,500. You had that regular appointment that you got $3,000 at
Yeah.
the end of the year. If you maybe take that out, just use your mascara
Uh-huh.
instead. These are things that you can adjust somewhere. I know people have heard this before. You like to go get your morning coffee at Starbucks every day. Starbucks is expensive. We heard this man
Expensive.
cut out
Yes.
Starbucks and intentionally just discipline yourself to maybe give up something to get
Mm-hmm.
something that you want. It might be a temporary
Mm-hmm.
thing, but it might be really worth it. The
Mm-hmm.
experience, like you said, going overseas, that might be really worth it to give up something, maybe for a year. It,
Yeah.
it might take somebody else 6 months, but really consider that what you can give up to get something else you really want to
Yeah.
obtain, experience, or do.
That's like huge. Oh my gosh. There's so much greatness in that message. You have to give
Mhm.
up something to give something. And I think that crosses so many areas of life that people don't realize. Like everything comes with a sacrifice. I love that I'm in the space I'm in as an entrepreneur and even able to do things like this. Where, just this is just a labor of love. I just love having these conversations, sharing this knowledge, being able to collaborate with people, all of that. And I remember being younger and not being super clear about what my future was going to be, but just knowing I want to invest in myself by going to
Mhm.
college or whatever, right? And
Mhm.
as a, you know, Detroit girl without a lot of money and all of that kind of stuff, I was like, a lot of times broke in college. I didn't have a lot of money. And so, but to your point, you have to give up something to get something. At that time, I was giving up my time and opportunities to make money so that I can be able to, on the other side, hopefully get a career that helps me take care of myself and allows me to work in a way that fulfills me, right? And so
Mhm. Reap the
you have
rewards
to
later.
be somewhat thinking in the future all of the time. And when people are planning these travels, because we're going to talk about travels because we on that, but whether you're doing a home renovation, anything, right? When people are planning these kind of things, these are not things they just like pop up with and be like, all right, next month I'm going to do this. I mean, there are some people that can do that and can afford to do that and great. But we're not talking about those people right now. We're talking about the people who are really like, I want to do this. And it may not be just a disposable type of income that I have sitting around. So I have to plan for
Mhm.
this. They're planning
Mhm.
out. They're planning like, now for next fall or whatever, right? And so
Mhm.
I love that you said, give up something to get something. And I just think it crosses just a lot of areas in our life. Whenever we're doing something, we're sacrificing something else. Earlier in this podcast, I mentioned you wear a lot of hats. There are times where you have to be like, I'm going to be a mom, and that's all I'm going to be right now. Or I'm going to be, an entrepreneur, and that's all I'm going to be right now. But whenever you're in those spaces, something else is taking the backseat, and it has to, because in order for you to really be present in that moment, you have to be like, okay, I'm going to push pause on this, or put this on the shelf in order for me to focus on this thing that I'm trying to prioritize, invest in, give my energy to, my time to in some way, my money to. And so I love that message. And there are apps, there are apps that can help you see what you're spending your money on and actually categorize it for you. And so, if you're, maybe not sure, like, where is all my money going? Because I know that last week, $500 seemed like it disappeared from my account. And I don't know what happened. I'm sure like, when I look at and I'm like, okay, I spent this money, but how? Like, how did that, sometimes I'm not even aware of where some of this money is going, but apps can help you kind of see, oh my gosh, I'm paying for this many streaming activities. I'm doing this many, maybe social outings. I'm spending this much money on these different things. And you can be able to be conscious and saying, well, what do I want to make my cuts at? What is kind of something I'm okay with just saying, I'm not going to do this for a while. Sometimes you can get your nails done and spread it out, or to your point, do them yourself. Same thing with your hair, or, just some of these other luxuries. That's how I would consider these are luxuries. And so, like, I'm all for treat yourself. I'm big on self-care, love yourself, all of that kind of stuff. But like you said, think about what you want, what you're trying to do, and what that is going to cost in some capacity, right? Where there's going to be your time, your money, your energy, or because everything is coming from something. Everything you're doing is pulling from something. So that was a huge message. And be responsible, people. Be responsible. You can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. I want to also mention the local thing. I love that because I moved to California a couple of years ago, and I'm from that side of the country, and I always say it like that now. I say this side of the country versus that side of the country, and it's different. It's different over here, It is.
I know the cost of living I'm sure, is different.
It's different. The culture is different. The people different. The food, it's different. And some stuff I like, some stuff I didn't like. I would say in the beginning, it was more stuff I didn't like than stuff I did like. But over time, it's probably more stuff I do like, right? And I always, my roots are on that side of the country. So I'm always like, oh yeah, Now I'm just like, it is so much to do. It is so much to see. It is so much to experience. And I think, sometimes we'll be in the area and just take for granted how much we have access to. People are traveling all over the world sometimes to see these things that we like. This is in our backyard. This is right down the street.
right
This
in
is
our
right across
backyard.
town. Or this is like a 2-hour drive away. And we're like, where are we going? It's nothing to do here. When it's like, there's something to do. It just didn't look at it like that. Even for me, if it's like a 6-hour drive away or whatever, right? That's still to me like, okay, let's do that. That's a weekend trip or something to that nature. And I love just being able to see something new, do something new, experience something different. Sometimes it could be the same thing at different times and it looks very different. The offerings are different. And so, yes, and being aware that when you go outside, it instantly costs money. Yesterday, I was going to go to this place. It was a mall that I didn't know exists. There are a lot of malls up here. There's a mall that I didn't know exists. I was like, oh, I'm going to go over there. It's like an outdoor area. It's really cute.
Okay.
And I went outside. My car didn't want to start. And my car has never not started. It was, it's a newer car.
Okay.
And I didn't know why. The lights were on. The dash was on. I was like, what is going on? And then found out my battery is like going out. So that ended up being a priority in my day. And long story short, I found out that out of pocket, it will cost me around $400 just to get that battery changed. But my car is covered under warranty, and so it can be done, but it's going to take a few days. So my whole day was changed just off of this like battery situation.
You had
And it's
tickets on
already
shopping or
costing money.
spending at this, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I ain't even went nowhere yet, and it's already costing money. So being prepared, budgeting, understanding life is going to be full of different things, and it's not just what I want right now, and and I'm not prepared for it. So I love that message. You're so creative, though. The way you just even talked about experiencing life it's like, like it's the just seeing the colors of the world and being able to tap into that. For you, what does creativity, like, what role does it play in just living a rich and vibrant life and doing
Mhm.
it at any age?
I mean, creativity, I mean, it's really about doing meaningful, fulfilling activities. Creatives or creativity is a tendency to like generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, possibilities, of things that may be useful in solving problems.
Oh my
It
gosh.
Creativity can be, of course, communicating with others, entertaining ourselves or others. And with most people, I think when they kind of reference creativity, we kind of think of a personality type, someone who has very good artistic form of expression, or someone who draws really well, someone who's really good musically with a musical instrument. Those are all the things I think that we think about when we think about creativity and people. But we all can be creatives in our lives. I mean, when
Mhm.
you just think outside of the box or doing things outside of like your typical day to day structure, to live a rich and vibrant life, it means that you do have an abundance of something, like you're full of life or energy. And like I said, sometimes when people look at me, they say, "You're so creative. You're so good at what you do, and you're always attentive, fun."
And are
Mm. And
we're gonna say that because
yeah,
you are.
I do appreciate it. I'm glad people see that in me. But and that is true with creatives. A lot of times our thought process is about the positive things. And a lot of times being full of energy, open minded to different experiences.
Mhm.
These are things that we tend to do well. We find ways and things to maybe even just idealize a project. See how maybe we can monetize on something that is like, oh, this is something I can really do well.
Mhm.
And then we look for ways to be immersed in the activity because we know that there is some satisfaction in doing it. But like I say, anybody can take on this philosophy and open their mind to just draw from their resources. Draw from their resources, find things that they love to do, find ways to fit it into their schedule, seek all the
Yeah.
possibilities of like incorporating this interest in some way into their lives.
Mhm.
Sometimes that does require us to like get out of our comfort zone. And I encourage people to stop saying no to things they don't know that they can do, don't
Mhm.
know that they won't like, or they don't try or have never tried before. So just step out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone is the key to discovery. Live and see things you never thought would be possible. Um, and really thinking outside of the box philosophy means that forget who you think you innately are as a person, but you can definitely expand on that, grow and see other things in life that might spark your interest and just go for it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just live.
Absolutely. I feel like you're speaking on a journey of recognizing your strengths and gratitude, right? Like there's something to appreciate in everything. Um, Also, and I want to add to that, but I
Mhm.
think you're gonna probably touch on that some, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
wait to say something. But I
Okay.
also am hearing that and I believe this, as humans, we're growing and we're evolving all the time.
Mhm.
And so even when you have this concrete understanding of who you are, right? You're just like, yep, I know who I am. Experiences in life and age, all of these different things move us through different phases of our lives and offers us an opportunity to grow, shift our perspectives, expand our, just what we see the world as. And in
Mhm.
that, being open to there's things about me that I don't know yet or that I'm still, learning about myself. I think if you can look at life like that, it's rewarding. It's very rewarding because you're
Mhm.
always receptive of growth. You're always in this space of I'm not at the finish line of life yet. I
Mhm.
haven't stopped, growing. I haven't stopped learning. I haven't seen everything that I need to see. And so I love that you said it like, stop saying no to things you don't know, right? That you don't
Mhm.
like. And
Yeah.
something else I recognize about that, and I don't think this is for everybody, but I do think that some people don't, treat themselves nice enough.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is sometimes when we have experiences or we give our time to things, because we're rarely doing that, we expect so much out of this one experience that it's it's like almost like we kind of tell ourselves that we can't do a lot of things because if we're not checking all of these boxes that we feel like, means a meaningful experience for us, then we can't even do that. And what I would say about that is do more things for yourself, be open to just experiencing things, treating yourself nice, because when you are regularly doing that for yourself, then trying something new doesn't feel as off-putting because you're
Mhm.
already, sure that you're going to have other experiences. You're already comfortable with that, there are things you like that you'll go back to, but being receptive that, hey, there's some stuff out there that maybe I wouldn't have thought to do or I wouldn't have said yes to by myself, but now that I have this opportunity, I'll just go ahead and try it. Why not type thing.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, as long as it's not life threatening, y'all, please don't be out there trying to do some life threatening stuff. I do not want nobody to be in danger over here in this. So, but just being able to say, I'm gonna try that new restaurant with that new genre of food that I might not have eaten because why not, right? Type thing.
Yeah.
Even though normally going out means going to this place. Don't just wait to the birthday or to the, anniversary to go out. Go places
Special occasion.
enough to where when I go out here or I try this new place, and even if it's not great, I can still enjoy it. Um,
Mhm.
Speaking of that, how can we shift our mindset to focus on experiences rather than
Mhm.
material possessions?
I would just say material possessions, I feel like they're fleeting. While it looks good, it feels good today. It can be out of style by next month. It can be destroyed in a year, forgotten about in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
However, experiences tend to stick and stay with us. As long as we got our memories, sometimes we might have experiences and things that last our whole lives that we remember that we did at some point in our lives. Material possessions, I think a lot of time, it's not given a lot of thought. A lot of times, sometimes it's just impulsive shopping, buying. Um, of course, there are material things that we may need, like clothing and whatnot. But I feel like sometimes with material possession, it looks good, or it looks great the first time you wear it, the first time you put it on. But at what value is it?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't really see the value of material things unless it's something of really high cost. Then you can
Mm,
say, "Hey, I got my Corvette," so that was a material possession that came with an experience. But I think memorable experiences, those things, they don't have to cost a lot of money.
mm-hmm.
There's a reduction in sticker shock. Sometimes we do something like, oh, it cost me this much, or this item that I bought cost me this much. I didn't want to expense it. However, when you experience things, it doesn't have to cost a lot.
Yeah.
And I think experiences provide like that dopamine that makes you want to remember and want to do it again. And I mean, a lot of people love to shop. That can give you that kind of rush too. They
Mm-hmm.
might love to show off clothing, fashion, new technology, gadgets, and such. And that is perfectly fine. And that's okay. But I think sometimes it requires some people to kind of just shift their focus a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to completely give up on those things and stop having material possessions. That's a part of life. That's how we show even that we're affluent and that we are doing well. So it means something to people to have those things, but it also, I think it means something, or it should mean something to you to also want to have a life that is full of memories, experience, things that you can take with you and just and feel like you've accomplished something as well. I would say one thing I would consider is think about next time, when you get together with family, what are the conversations about? What do we talk about when we're with family and at our gatherings? You might be talking about that your granny, somebody who might have passed away from long ago. You talk about things that they did, how they made you feel. Remember last Christmas when we did this? It brings up nostalgia. And those are experiences and even just in life that you guys remember. You talk about, hey, remember when us cousins did this or whatever? And remember you got in trouble for this? Those are the things that stick with people. And those are things that a remembrance that I feel like is way more important than the material possessions that we like to hold on to. Of course, we might talk about somebody who maybe had on some outrageous outfit or tacky attire, and we remember that experience. Like, remember they had on that zebra print from head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things you do remember, but it is also part of the experience that you witnessed that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I say I encourage people to just really stay focused on fulfilling activities because that transcends through generations, through your conversations. It might create traditions, and just bring up the value of your family. Like if your family is really important to you, it could even change the whole dynamics of your offspring.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and just being able to experience and do things with them, it really does change, I think, the family dynamics as well, the things that are important to you by experiencing things.
Yes. My gosh. I love that. There's so much wisdom in that message. Just the connections, appreciating and valuing that.
Mhm.
And I said I was gonna speak on something earlier, and I was like, I was waiting for you to talk. You are definitely going into that space. So thank you. So
Okay.
first of all, I connect possessions to experiences.
Mhm.
Usually, and I'm a, just like you, I'm an experienced person. I love to experience things, try things, do things, see new things.
Mhm.
And to your point, those are things we actually remember. Usually, if I'm a remember a possession, it's connected to an experience. Or if I'm
Mhm.
like really drawn to, I want to do this, I do have my little burst of, I'm gonna, just splurge on myself a little bit. More of my like planning and just interest is more towards enjoying some kind of experience or experiencing something. So I
Good.
love that. Um, so first I just want to say that buying things does not heal the spirit. So if you're a person who
Mhm.
is constantly buying things and just feeling like whenever I feel down, I just got to go shopping and
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff, that's not gonna like just heal the spirit. It's not gonna allow you to grow in well, I'm not even gonna say grow. I think that growth looks different depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Mhm.
But it's not going to allow you to glow like you're wanting to. You're looking at, oh, this material, this name brand, or this whatever, right? As
Mhm.
something that's going to be able to just make you feel better or add to some void you're having. There's other kind of work that needs to be done if you're using shopping or material possessions to give you that. Okay, so I'm just say that. So
Mhm.
yes, shine, do you
That
live
is
your
true.
beautiful life in that way, but understand there may be some deeper healing that needs to happen. But experiences, man, they go so far. I love that you connected it to family because I
Mhm.
think that oftentimes we put people in such a box in saying that what can they do to serve our life, or how
Mhm.
can we only benefit from, certain people in certain ways. And in reality, like just like we talked about earlier with that strengths and gratitude journey, there are strengths in these relationships that are healing, that are uplifting, that are just they're grounding for us, right? Like no
Mhm.
matter where you at, sometimes it's just let me go over here and sit with this person and laugh and talk about this. Or I know one of the things I used to do when I would come to towns, I would take my grandmother out to eat breakfast or brunch, and that was like our thing, and she just looked forward to that. And
Mhm.
that was she doesn't go out a whole lot, and so it was just a fun type thing we can look forward to doing and sharing this time together. And it just made me feel good to know, like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I'm spending this time with my grandma. It takes me back to childhood, all of this different stuff.
Mhm. That's
And
beautiful.
just
Mhm.
being able to find the value and appreciation in that we have people in our lives that we can spend time with in some capacity.
Mhm.
There's probably something to enjoy about an experience. So I always tell this little thing to my clients that is kind of funny. I'm like, if I go to a restaurant or I try this new restaurant and the food is terrible, and being in California, I would just tell y'all,
Mhm.
they food ain't as great to me as the other side of the country. I've been trying to like not say that, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it because it's just on my spirit today.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I'd like y'all really love
Mhm.
this food, and I just it's not doing it for me.
Mhm.
But it's not gonna stop me from experiencing things and trying to find my thing here. What I
Yeah.
do though is I
Yeah,
find
keep
something
going.
else I like, even if the food isn't great, right? I like the
Mhm.
ambiance. Maybe I like
Mhm.
that they have live music. I've been at restaurants where I really like their bathrooms. I mean, I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness. That was me in Cancun. I was like, the restaurants we went to, I'm like, we need bathrooms like this back home. And I'm like, I thought we were living it up in some of our fine dining establishments, but they
Right.
provide wash towels, hand towels, everything you need
Right.
to clean your teeth.
Man, see, like, yeah. So I'm like, usually there's something to enjoy, but if you are a person
Mhm,
who looks at, oh my gosh, these boxes have to be checked, kind of what I mentioned earlier,
mhm,
it'll be harder for you to enjoy that because you're not experiencing in my opinion, you're not experiencing enough to appreciate any experience and all experiences. And
yeah.
find something that you can, be grateful for. I'm going for a walk
Mhm,
outside. I'm
mhm,
like, is the sun shining? Is maybe it's a cool breeze blowing? Are the leaves changing colors or green? Like I'm looking for all kind of stuff that can be enjoyable about this walk. Sometimes just the peace and quiet, right? It's
mhm,
not super crowded. Or I saw that cute little girl walking or, riding her bike with her
mhm,
parent that she's walking with. It's always something to find gratitude in. And so if you just
mhm,
kind of look at experiences as something to allow you to connect with people, but also something to appreciate, something to find value in, you'll always enjoy it. It doesn't
mhm,
have to be all of these bells and whistles for you to enjoy an
mhm.
experience. So
I
I
agree.
love that you went into that
Mhm,
and connected it to family because family, yeah, there's just something about it. So, what advice would you give to someone who feels like maybe they're too old to start living their best life? Because we're spending
mhm,
some time talking about, going on this journey of just self discovery, finding what you like, doing it in different, like, with different budgets. But some people are like, well, I missed my 20s, so I can't really do it. Or I missed that doing that in my
mhm,
30s. So, but no, it's not too late, right?
mhm. No. I think most people, especially adults who maybe even with children or older adults, they might reference, back in my day, I used to love to do this, or I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time doing this activity growing up, certain hobbies. And when they reference it, and it's like, well, why don't you do it any longer? Why isn't, is it that you don't love it? Is it that you don't like it anymore? And most of the times, that's going to be a no. Like they might
Um,
still find enjoyment of it, but I think time and distance kind of keeps us from revisiting those old
um,
hobbies and things that we used to do or had interest in. I would say a lot of times I hear, my body just don't work like it used to, or, if I engage in this activity, I'm
mhm,
gonna pay for it later, right?
mhm.
Or I'm gonna just stay away from it and let the young kids have that. And sometimes it's like, okay, there are things that are physically you may not like you don't want to
Yeah.
go just jumping off of buildings and climbing up the side of a mountain if that's not something you're trained to do. That's not, that may not be your idea of fun. But a lot of times I think that the excuse is that I want to just stay home and not do this,
Mhm.
or I rather reminisce about it. But would I engage in it? Because I did that 20 years ago. Okay. I mean, I understand in your early 20s, maybe pre-kids, before marriage, this was something that you frequently did because you had the time. But when you get that time, or when you can make that time, what's going on?
Yeah.
I understand that you have bigger and more important obligations, like people who have kids and family, life and work. However, just don't I guess stop doing something that you think you might love, or find new things that you can also involve yourself in. Find the time. You might have the time and opportunity. Sometimes
Uh-huh.
we just have to disconnect from like our phones and take a maybe a social media break. I tend to
Lord
do that
Jesus.
because I'm like, how much time am I spending? I'll go to my phone does the reminder, and it's
Oh
like I
my
spent that
gosh.
much time strolling through social media or being on the internet. And I like those reminders because
Mhm.
it puts me in perspective. What am I actually taking the time to do? And a lot of times we don't think about how much we're doing of stuff that it's just things to keep our minds
Yeah.
just going and keep our us engaged in something. But how meaningful is it that we're being engaged? We're engaging in it in that.
Yeah.
Like for some people, social media is their bread and butter. I get it. You need to spend a lot of time on that.
Mhm.
But for some other people, I think they need to. maybe look at what time can they find in their day, and then taking out the notion that I'm too old to do something because it might have been an activity that you did in your
Yeah.
youth. The saying, you're only as old as you feel, that I believe is real because I never like taking myself out of an equation or an activity because I feel like I'm too old to do something. Of course, there's things from my past and youth that I wouldn't engage in because of my maturity or because it might be something that might be detrimental to my health or something that you don't want to put yourself in that situation. However, I think that notion of I'm too old to do anything. I think that really needs to get out a lot of people's sight in their
Yeah.
mind and how they look at experiences and doing different things or revisiting things that they love to do before. That I think being too old sometimes it can be a perspective of how have you lived your life to this point that made you feel like you're too old. Some people do have like physical ailments and things that can contribute to maybe them sitting back or not engaging in the activity. But if you got health, I mean, you got so much wealth and so much opportunity to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I even tell people who are a little bit more up there in age, like I kind of feel like we're still young, we still have our youth and we can engage and we can meet up with friends and things for brunch. But some people in there that's a little bit older, say 50s, 60s, or 60s, I'll say, more so in being up there in age. I say sometimes they don't see people like them doing a certain activity or engaging in that activity. So it keeps them from feeling like this is something they should be doing. Sometimes society puts it on people that you have to look and act a certain way to be
Mm.
accepted into this world. I feel like a lot of older people, I would say even your 60s, 70s, you've got Facebook, right? Go on there and type a search in for how do you like, and even add in your age. Say people over 60 who like to do this. You'll be surprised.
Wow.
How many
Okay.
you might find some social or interest groups where people over 60 are doing this thing.
Mhm.
So look into that. Like if you don't want to be alone to do it, I mean, I say just making sure that you do not count yourself out because of your age, because of what society says you can't do or shouldn't be doing. Look into just engaging in a way that says that, this is within my physical capability. I have the money, I have the resources to do this. Find the time to look for a group of people that's 50 and up who like to hike. You never know what you might discover and find. And don't just count yourself out because you don't see a lot of people your age doing that one thing. Oh, well, make it your
Yeah.
thing. And then lastly, I'd say there is a book by Shonda Rhimes. It's called The
Mhm.
Year of Givens. Um, I encourage people to read that book when you're feeling like you feel like you're a no person. You just always say no to things. And anyone, any age can actually read this because I got some encouraging words and I found some beneficial things to apply in my life. It's about her journey to say yes to a lot of things she would normally say no to. And I think this is what a lot of us do subconsciously. We just feel
Mhm.
it. We just sometimes say, no, I'm not doing it because that's not
Yeah.
for me. And I think people as they age, that happens a lot more frequently. No, I don't see people
Mhm.
like me doing this. My body's not what it used to be. But I say anyone of any age can read it. But if you're concerned about your age keeping you from doing and living a fulfilling life, then read that book. That'll help. But just subconsciously take away that notion just to say no, because I think at any age you can engage in things that you enjoy, and you can also find people who might want to do it with you if you're concerned about going at it alone.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Just staying active, not counting yourself out,
Hmm.
having your own social community, and tapping into your inner child. I do a lot of work with childhood trauma and obviously healing is a part of that, but that inner child piece, self-discovery is so important because as you age, you can feel a disconnect from that. And one of the things you mentioned earlier was you're like, I'm getting into something I used to do when I was younger. And I
Mhm.
love that for you because I'm like, that's exactly what some of this inner child journey is just being able to enjoy the things that we enjoy as a child or a teenager or even a young adult, just being able to go back to those places where we felt free and doing some of those things. It could be drawing and coloring. It could be dancing, right? It could be dressing
Mhm.
up. I remember a couple of years ago, I dressed up for Halloween.
Mhm.
And I'm like, a lot of adults around me don't really do that much. And it was really
Mhm.
fun, to
Yeah.
shop for it, to like, put all of the pieces together, to do the
Mhm.
makeup and everything. It was like hair around it. And
Mhm.
I think I dressed up like several times that year in different ways, but it was just really,
Mhm.
really fun to just not be like, oh, well, you're too old for that. Just, and I love to dance. So I'm always gonna be like, where's somebody dance class at? Or if I'm in some place where the energy is like, let's dance, I'm like, count me in.
Yeah.
And to your point, you get older, that check engine light do come on. I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not gonna be able to drop it like it's hot. I do not have knees like Megan, but I'm
Yeah.
still gonna dance
Still,
and have
still
fun
move,
and
right?
enjoy, you know what I mean? And so being able to, just still not count yourself out to your point and just get into it and have fun. And I love that you mentioned about the social piece because like some people they don't do stuff because they feel like, well, there's nobody to do this with. And in actuality, there are lots of resources out there to connect with people and to be in settings to where people are also going into this space without necessarily coming in with somebody, but they just wanted to experience this. I know I talked to some people and they're like, they're part of social groups that do plan different events locally or even trips to allow people to go on. I am big on right now in my life creating certain experiences. So I try to like let every year be something that I foresee I'm going into this year focusing on, but I
Mhm.
also like leave space for me to have something just come to me, right? So like the whole Halloween thing that came to me, I didn't go into that year saying
Mhm.
I'm gonna wear costumes this year for Halloween and be like a kid again. That came to me. I was invited to do that, and then I just got into it. But
Mhm. You found that
um,
you enjoyed it,
it was
like
so fun.
visiting it. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like but there are also times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this year. I'm gonna make sure I do this year. Like last year, I did my first self-care trip, like where I just, as a mom and a wife, I was I'm gonna do something without
Mhm.
anybody, without my kids, my family, my husband, and then just see what that's like. And it was so interesting. Like I
Mhm.
knew I was gonna like it, but it was just
Mhm.
stuff that I didn't think about that I ended up enjoying about it. Like towards the end of the night, not having to go and like, make sure somebody took a bath and have somebody calling my name. I just didn't even think about how that's just such an embedded, routine in my life. I'm
Mhm.
like looking for this and I'm waking up and I'm like, nobody's there. What? So this year I was like, I want to do something a little bit more intentional with that. And so that's actually coming up. We're not even there yet. But
Mhm.
so yeah, like going into like a time to where you're like, I'm gonna like focus on this for myself, but also being open to welcoming something new for
Mhm.
yourself that, or just familiar for yourself that you just didn't even plan for.
Mhm.
Be intentional, but also be free and receiving. So I love the like saying yes thing, being able to move away from that default no. I think for some people that
Mhm.
no, it's a default no. It's just like, it's not even thought of. It's like, if you just let yourself process what was asked, it might be a
Mhm.
yes, but they're so used to saying no first that by the time the opportunity really sinks in, it has already passed them by. And so
Mhm.
I love that. Just like, sometimes we don't have the answer. Sometimes we think we had an answer and let's just sit on that for, a day or two and then
Yeah.
see if maybe we are interested. I almost
Mhm.
like just let time pass. And as I get closer to that, make the decision just because
Mhm.
I'm not really sure. And I actually do like to say things and, or do things or experience things. And I don't want to to your point, count myself out of stuff, but also, being open to like, if this is for me, my spirit will tell me something will come to me that allows me to be clear, a little bit more clear.
Mhm.
I'm big on like listening to the spirit right now, listening to God, receiving these different messages and not just walking through the world completely blind,
Nice. Nice.
which I
Mhm.
am so excited of the direction this conversation is about to go into because we're about to get into
Yeah.
some of the mindset stuff. Man, mindset is just a topic that I love and feel like there's so much in that. Teresa,
Mm-hmm.
explain to the listeners what is a growth mindset and why is that crucial to have?
Okay. So a growth mindset is the belief that I would say a person's abilities can be improved through effort, learning, persistence. It's opposite of like a fixed mindset where you believe like only your capabilities are innate and
Hmm.
within you. And that's just it. That's just final. That's who you are. What you see is what you get. It's opposite of that. With the mindset that you are as a person with a growth mindset will seek knowledge. They'll want information. They'll use their resources around them to improve their circumstance in life or position in life. They don't just say, hey, this is who I am, this is what you get, but they want to continue to find ways to be better.
Yeah.
I think it is definitely very important and crucial because if you think that you have no room for growth to be better, you stand still, just allow life and all these external factors to be your guide.
Hmm.
But is that do you want that though? Like, I mean, to be led by so many outside factors. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people forget who they are because they're not thinking about who they are as a person and they're allowed maybe just um their personality traits to kind of take the back seat
Hmm.
while other factors outside of them gets the front seat.
Yeah.
I say rather than taking the lead on your life and your personal development, it does affect how how your life goes, how you see yourself as a person, and even your goals can sometimes be
Hmm.
sidetracked. I think that a growth mindset can definitely take you to a place, places you never imagined, your rooms you never thought you'd step in. Um,
Hmm.
I think a growth mindset is definitely beneficial in achieving like in workplace and like with your household income. It's beneficial in development as a partner or a significant other. The saying, you know better, you do better, right? Whether it is how you communicate with your partner, how you develop and evolve your relationship over time. I think a growth mindset allows you more maturity. So when your relationships change, you grow with it and you mature with it. I think
Hmm.
as an individual, like I mentioned, definitely most importantly, personal development is necessary because how can you be better for others if you are not showing up for yourself?
Yeah.
If you know that time and time and again, you're making the same mistakes, you're taking the same silly route, and staying in a place of trouble or a place of discourse, you don't like where you're headed. A growth mindset will welcome that self evaluation, allow you to
Hmm.
reflect. Think about what it is that you're doing. What is it that you want to do and accomplish? And make revisions that you see is necessary. And a lot of people, I mean, there are people who really don't have an end them to say, hey, I want to just be better as a person. I'm going to grow and I'm going to do all these things. And not everyone is the same, but that's where I would suggest if you know that there is something about you that you want to elevate, you want to be better, that's where self help books come in. Um, Read, be intentional about studying how to be a better person. Get there. Therapy is also a great tool to help people get along in life and have an outside perspective.
Hmm.
Because maybe, like I said, you don't have it in you to give, but when you talk through your problems with your therapist, that person can help you along to say and help you say, okay, this is something about myself. I didn't realize I was counting myself out so much. But if I do X, Y, Z, I can be a better person. I would say even just physical coaching will come into play or like getting a personal trainer. Those are things
Hmm.
that might be ways that you can seek and find if you don't have it in you to just
Hmm.
go YouTube and do workout videos on your own. If you say I want to grow and I want my body to look a certain way and I want to lose weight or something, that's where you go find your outside resources. Our body, our physical well-being, it can definitely play a factor into how we approach life, get through life, how we live, how we interact with people. So I think sometimes it is just required to get outside sources to help you to get that mindset or get those gears a turning in your head. I say if you want to be a better person, just seek many outlets, many avenues, just to continue to grow, learn, blossom into your full potential. It's definitely something. It definitely has to start from inside of you so it can project out to other people.
Yes, growth is inside of you. That's so huge. The just desire to want to grow is inside of you.
Mhm.
But to your point, there's no finish line, right? I think that's important for people to understand. Even when you are reaching your goals, that you reach the goal and you're supposed to just keep setting goals. Like that's why,
Mhm.
you stay engaged and motivated in life is because there's no finish line. You
Mhm.
said when you stop being willing to grow, to me, I'm like, you're starting to accept that, or you're starting to speed up this idea that life is over for you.
Mhm.
And no, life isn't over at any age. You can always be in the space of growth. Other
Yeah.
thing is we don't know it all. We don't have all of the answers. We are not the, knowledge of all areas, and even with ourselves. And so being open to asking for help and learning something new or another way to do something or a better way to do something. Because sometimes we are okay, but it's only going to get us to this point when we really want to get to this point. And sometimes it's just the way we're looking at something, or sometimes it's the way we are, just the knowledge we have on something. I remember hearing about how Serena Williams, she had got to a point in her career where she couldn't win, after she had won so many games, she just like kept losing. And she was, setting this goal to, I don't know, I can't even remember the number, but she wanted to win a certain amount of games. And she was like maybe a game or two short of that. And she just
Mhm.
could not get to that. And she got some coaching. And basically, one of the things that came out of that coaching was you need to set a way higher goal, right? Like you don't want to stop at this number because what's happening in your mind is that you're pretty much there, or you're like it's
Mhm.
an unattainable number for you. And so you're not seeing, something stopping you from getting there.
Mhm.
Literally, when she changed that number, she like won so many more games after that, and
Mhm.
accomplished so many more records. And so it was like totally a mindset thing with her to be able to say, "Oh shoot," it was blocking her. I remember, like, for me, when I went to college, I did not dream or think of I'm gonna be a business owner. Didn't have that in my mind. At 25, I did not know I was gonna be a business owner or
Mhm.
entrepreneur. That was not something that just sat in my mind. At 30, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, so I said that to say, like, as I grew and lived and experienced, that came to me later, and it was a lot of messages. I can actually,
Mhm.
maybe at one point I'll tell this story, but it was enough messages to where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing it, I'm seeing it. I
Mhm.
think, something's becoming more and more clear for me. It was very possible at that point. And so I went for it, but it wasn't like I just, kind of went into this young age saying, there are some people that do that. Like, I knew I was going to
Mhm.
do this. I wasn't that person. So I say that to say,
Me
like,
neither.
be ready to, like, grow and evolve because you don't know what's in your path. I
Mhm.
do think it was in my path. I just didn't know. I didn't know for many years that that was in my path. And so, but you want to have your mind open enough to be able to say, man, anything is possible. And I don't know what's, going to come up, but
Mhm.
it'll show you, it'll reveal it. So
It'll,
how
yeah,
can
it'll reveal
somebody
itself. Mhm.
start to incorporate growth mindset into their daily habits?
I would say, okay, I'm gonna start out with three things, and then I'm gonna explain that. First, don't stick with the cards you're dealt. Second,
Mm,
shuffle up that deck, and third, pick your own cards. I say,
I didn't even hear what you're going to say about it, but I love that. Okay. I'm sorry.
oh no, because I think the main idea behind it is that change is necessary. It doesn't have to be a big shift,
Mm-hmm.
but it just has to happen. It has to happen in order for you to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Growth doesn't occur if you don't change.
Mm-hmm.
So first, if we just talk about just sticking with the cards you're dealt, like don't stick with the cards you're dealt. I'll even use, for example, just in my early years, I was a teenage mom. That was so long ago, but the cards and the odds against me was that I'm going to have so many barriers. More than likely, I'm going to have an absent father. I need to get
Mhm.
assistance elsewhere for like child support. Like that black teenage mom stigma or young mom stigma.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, at some point, those things were real. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, and just to be clear, like, my son's father, he was definitely a father to his child until his untimely death and when he was killed when my son was only two
Oh my
years old.
gosh.
So for him, that wasn't a choice for him to be an absent father, but it happened due to his untimely death. Then, of course, the barriers, because I'm so young, I'm just trying to figure out life. I don't have all the resources then,
Mhm.
but I know I had to be a mom. And so, I might have had to get additional assistance outside to support my child at the time.
Mhm.
However, the biggest thing was not allowing those barriers and those things keep me from showing up for my son, for my family. I knew it was necessary to definitely become a better adult. I
Mhm.
need to show it for him to be his mom, especially if I'm going at this alone now. So I'm choosing. I'm not going to stick with the cards as though, but I'm going to see some alternatives. Break down these stereotypes. Try and remove these obstacles, barriers. Push
Mhm.
myself harder and change due to my life circumstance at the moment. And my change was also at the time, it was like, hey, I need to take care of my family, but it was also a pursuit of happiness. What makes me happy? Later on that came about. Then I was just going hard trying to make sure that I was taking care of us.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would say shuffling out that deck. Like even when I think about just employment, there were times I wasn't welcome into the conversation. I'm sure I was looked at so many times as we all go through like a job search. We know like, okay, they're not going my resume, it doesn't really scream that I am the most suitable hire or the most suitable candidate for this position.
Mhm.
I can't make them want me. I can't say like I want to make $150,000 a year. You should accept me because I want it. No, I
Mhm.
have to go through and I've got to shuffle up the deck and change some variables in my life.
Yeah.
And I would say just shuffling up, I thought about the life I wanted to live. And that's what I
Mhm.
started like, what type of lifestyle do I want? I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses too. Might be still figuring out how to deal with some of my weaknesses and elevate and look more to my strengths. But definitely because I had to take the job that I needed to take. My job isn't so interesting and great that I love what I do. However, I started my decor business because I love doing it. That's where when I shuffled up and picked my own cards, that's what I picked. I
Yeah.
wanted to do something that I knew I had a shrink there. I know I could monetize on this. I had the capabilities to create something that other people would like and be willing to pay for. And and I know at some time I'm gonna have to shuffle again. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board at some time. I mean, time will tell. But for now, I say that I'm glad I didn't just stick with the cards I was dealt. I
Yeah.
shuffled up and start picking my own cards.
Yeah.
And I just say to anyone, take that initiative um, and work on a to-do list for enjoyment,
Mhm.
growth. If you
Yeah.
want to live a life that's fulfilled in any way, if you want to start your daily routine, not just thinking like, oh, I got to go to work, I got to go home and cook dinner, and I've got to clean up, and I'm going to go to bed. Start by making a list of the things that you want to do outside of your
Mhm.
chore list.
Yeah.
You can't escape the chore and the work list, but you can
Mhm.
incorporate something that you want to do in your daily tasks or in your week even.
Yeah.
Um, don't lump it in, like I said, with your to-do list. Maybe start it. I mean, eventually, once you can do that regularly, it might become a lifestyle and you put it in your everyday to-do list with everything else. But you need to hone in and make that your focal point. When you, I would say, when you just go about daily life, doing the same things, it can start to wear you down because
Mhm.
you feel like, am I growing? Am I being a better person? What am I doing in my life? So just understanding that you have to make some adjustments to and challenge yourself just to make some changes. Start thinking about those barriers that I mentioned before. Find a ways to just reduce. those barriers little by little. Take action. If you need to, take no. What's stopping me? What's keeping me from doing the things that I want to do? Some things that I like or some things that I'm enjoying. What's keeping me from progressing in life? Just live your life, I'll say, with the ability to choose and
Yeah.
know that you do have an option. And don't just get stuck with the cards you dealt, but definitely choose. You have the ability to choose, and you got a multitude of options, and you can
Okay.
choose how you see fit, and you can definitely fit it some way by just taking away those little barriers that's keeping you from getting where you want.
I love that. I just, man,
Mhm,
earlier we talked about how having a growth mindset starts on the inside. And I think I even mentioned, just being willing to want to grow. And the way you explained that is very close to how I look at the healing journey, just
mhm,
a healing journey, growing, coming through something that maybe has been difficult for you and deciding you want to, be in a better place, be a better person. Because a lot of times it's hard. A lot of people don't realize how hard it is to grow and how, to go through some of the changes you went through. You talked about working, but also starting this business. The business gives you joy, but it's not easy and it's working there and you have to figure out some things and it's going to cause you to
mhm,
evolve and figure out some more things. And so shuffling that deck is kind of something that's already in your mindset to know like, oh, that's coming up for me. And I feel like this is why everybody's not doing it is because it's hard and it's a healing thing.
mhm,
There's a lot of people that have stuff in there that they're like, I'm interested in, kind of, I know that, I could probably do this really well, but something's kind of stopping them. It's because we have circumstances that we are born into or that are around us,
mhm,
and we maybe kind of get stuck in being in that space and not being sure if we can get out of that.
mhm,
And when you are starting to get out of that and you're facing all of the obstacles, sometimes we're like, man, this is just too much. I'm not gonna
mhm,
continue. And usually that's a sign that you are doing the right stuff or maybe
mhm,
even can get some help in doing it a little bit better, but making those mistakes along the way, taking those risks along the way is going to be a part of growth. And so I love that you mentioned, like how I was looking for something that was fulfilling for me, and this
mhm,
is how I was able to introduce myself to it. And it is extra work, and it is something that's in addition to all of the other things that I'm doing. But this is not the finish line. I'm glad I got to start doing this. I'm seeing the benefits of this, and
mhm,
it's going to continue to pave the way, open up more opportunities for you. And I encourage anybody who's in that space of, I'm not sure, to just go ahead and take that leap and continue to just build on it. It doesn't have to be perfect and have all of the things that you want in that space yet, or like all of the components that you feel like would make this the greatest, ideal or adventure to go on for yourself, but do it anyway because you can add to it later. There's something that is so intrinsically rewarding about doing something that makes you feel good to do, doing something that is fulfilling for you, something that is going to make other people's lives better in some way. Your give
mhm,
back that is bigger than just oh well, everything has to be right or I have to be making all of this money in the beginning. Like some of that stuff is going to come as
mhm.
you like move into your purpose. And so
Yep.
I'm hearing like that growth being something that also is in alignment with who you are becoming, even if you don't all the way see what that's going to be yet.
Mhm.
Um, but progress, can be slow when you're in those spaces. When you're growing, you can kind of see yourself feeling stuck at times. How do you stay motivated when you are moving through personal growth, but it seems like it's slow at times?
I say a few key things I'll mention. One, starting off, have faith.
Hmm.
Who are your belief system? Ask that whatever your heart desires and keeps you going remains within you. If you set out a goal, definitely, definitely take into account your beliefs and pray about it if you need to. Write it down, jot it down. It's another thing, the other thing I'll mention. I know for me, when I write down something, I take it as Bible truth. Like this
Hmm.
is what I seek to complete. And we talked about timeline. So it may not be within the timeline that I envisioned. I might have
Hmm.
put it in my 1 month goal. But something happened along the way, circumstances, life. It may not been, it may not be attainable right in within that month that I planned for, but I will definitely come back later, revisit it because I wrote it down, right? I wrote it down. So I said, I'll revisit it. It might be 6 months later and I might need to go back to old planners, take a look at, peek, note what I said in those previous months when I wrote down my goals.
Mhm.
And I might just need to write it down again for future planning. So definitely write it down. Take baby steps. I mean, don't try to conquer the world in a day or
Mhm.
a week. If you set unrealistic expectations of when you like to accomplish something, I feel like a goal or task, you just feel defeated and you just
Mhm.
may give up. Take your time. Give yourself grace. Give yourself
Yeah.
grace that you will follow through. I'll take, for example, when I get into like my mind, my physical wellness, get into a workout routine, I know at some point I'm going to slow down. Like I can't always go as hard. I've got other obligations, work, things going on. So I make alterations where I can, but I don't stop.
Mhm.
My plan for working out like 5 days a week, I might be put in there that I want to do 5 days a week, 1 hour a day. Right now, as it is, I'm at about 3 to 4 days a week, and I'm trying to incorporate 20 minutes of more intense workout. But
Mhm.
then I also incorporate walking on my lunch in
Mhm.
between work, just getting up from my desk. We're
Yeah.
not meant to be sedentary all the time. So I make sure I just move throughout the day. And I count those 10 minutes, those 15 minutes, and they add up to at least my hour. So it's
Yeah.
not 1 hour of intense workout, but I know I'm still going to get the physical movement in. So
It's
I would
creative.
also say, yeah, yeah. And I say just those baby steps. It's so important. Like
Mhm.
don't put so much on yourself because that's how people give up. Definitely make all. You might have to make alterations too. So like I mentioned before about the workout, but also just know
Mhm.
that life circumstance, things happens. You might set out
Mhm.
for 6 months, but it might take you a year. But be okay. With going back to the drawing board if you need to. Go back and set out a new roadmap if you have to, a different way to get into where you want to go. And then just be kind to yourself. Just be
Yeah.
kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself down. Allow yourself a grace period because everything is not going to always be on the up and up. You
Yeah.
just have to be in tune with your emotions. How do you feel right now about doing this thing? Sometimes it might be that you don't know if this is for you. However, if it is something for you, you may have thoughts that's wearing you down, and at the moment you can't show up to do that thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's okay. Be kind to yourself because eventually you'll get back to yourself.
Yeah.
That shift it'll occur, but be you'll be surprised at how motivated you are when you just get over something that's been wearing you down and you didn't think you could get over it. So I say just be
Yeah.
kind to yourself in those moments when your emotional intelligence says that I don't have it in me to give to this, or it's
Oh
something else
man.
that's going on in my life. Just be willing to be okay with that, but still work
Yeah.
at it.
I hear you kind of speaking about how sometimes people like feel defeated. Maybe they had a setback or things didn't turn out
Mhm.
the way they thought it should. How can they use that as motivation or as an opportunity for growth instead of just seeing that as like the failure?
I say things happen for a reason. I mean, whether we know it or not or believe it, I think it may have been necessary to have that setback. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you can still move forward, become, attuned with what you want to accomplish and be back at yourself. But failure is hard.
Uh-huh.
Disappointment, that's hard. Backtracking, falling is hard. So we
Yeah.
should always look at this with like some type of disdain. And you're gonna have the perspective of why did I deserve this or why is this
Uh-huh.
happening to me? But we can definitely change our perspective about that. We can gain from those setbacks and failures instead of harping on the negative aspect of that. You can be better. You can move forward. You can find that getting up um, will give you the satisfaction you need. However, I would say, I mean, or if you look at that, that's growth right there. Like if you look at
Yeah.
that, that is growth. So whether you know it or not, you're thinking like, I can't do this right now, but you're thinking about how you can get back to doing it. That's growth in itself.
Yeah.
I'll say like flowers. Flowers die in the winter. They come back in the spring. You have what's called the perennials. Um, I would say, if I look at like I've planted something and I looked at it like,
Hmm.
look how little and weak this little flower is. I should have paid more money to get like the fully grown flower, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, wait, why are you discounting out this flower? And you start to look at it like, you know what, next year I'm
Mm.
gonna make sure I do all of this.
Yeah.
Understand it, care, water it, study it, feed it the food that's necessary for it to get to its full size. And you'd be
Hmm.
surprised how lovely and beautiful it is when it's nourished back into the next year, the next
Yeah.
year. And then and think about it, perennials they die out in the season. The season changes, they're going to die out. But that flower that we initially counted out is going to come back in full bloom the next season. And when you think about people in our life cycle, if you take that same perspective, we kind of take a look at our lives
Hmm.
and um, we say, you know, what are we doing right now? If you look in your growth or your life cycle, you have these phases that you're going to grow, you're going to feel great about everything you're doing, and then you're going to have setbacks and you're
Yeah.
going to like, oh, what am I doing so wrong? And some of us, some people tend to look at those setbacks, almost like the leaf or petal falling off. You know, they're not completely withered away. They're not completely down on their luck, but it's
Hmm.
like taking a petal or a leaf and they're focusing too much on that one little petal, that one little leaf that fell off. And for some
Hmm.
people, that really can change the whole the trajectory of their lives. They
Yeah.
keep holding on to that dead petal and they want it back. And they say, I really need that leaf. Why can't I just hold on a little longer? As if it wasn't supposed to happen. Like that was supposed to happen. Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like taking away that focus off that withering dead leaf, but focusing on the things that you do well, the other elements of your life, that you can do and that I say stop pointing out, you know, what you did wrong and nourish the body, the mind, the things that can elevate you and make you just a better person overall. Because, like I stated, setbacks, they're supposed to happen, but it
Setbacks
is
are
a
supposed to
temporary
happen.
state. You know, it's a temporary state. You can
Yeah.
still go out and accomplish your goals. You can still get to your wins. You can still be successful in accomplish things that you really wanted to accomplish. Allow yourself
Yeah.
the opportunity to nourish and grow in all other parts. Don't worry about those setbacks so much. You know,
Yeah.
let those other parts of you come on through and allow you to live your best life and just be your best self.
But man, a lot of stuff. I think that powerful like message in that is that setbacks are supposed to happen.
Mhm,
And you made it really practical. It's like so many things we do in life that we, kind of have to do it a few times to get it right. And then the other thing I think about is anybody that is successful are taking risks. Like they are not just landing and hitting gold because they, oh my gosh, did this thing and it worked
mhm,
out great. When you are trying to learn how to walk as a baby, as a toddler, you're falling more than you're taking steps in the beginning.
mhm,
And that's because in order to learn how to walk, you have to learn how to fall,
mhm.
right?
Yep,
I mean, that sounds like
absolutely.
so
Mhm.
like
Like that is
basic, but
supposed
it's
to
like,
happen. Yep.
yeah, like that didn't make you give up. You was like, I still want to
Mhm.
walk. So we fall over and over again, like to get up. And sometimes we don't even get to take the step before we fall as babies. It's just, but we keep getting up. Maybe we learn we got to hold on to that table. Sometimes it helps when we just go from this place to this place and it was only 3 steps until we,
Mhm,
build up to where we can walk more comfortably and all of that kind of stuff. We don't
mhm,
run first, we literally are like trying to figure out how to get this leg to move in front of this one without falling down. And it
mhm,
requires us to fall several times. In 1903, the first one of the most popular inventions that we're using today is flying because that's how we get to places that are
mhm,
far in the faster time frame, in a comfortable time frame. In 1903 the first plane was flown, right, by
mhm,
the Wright brothers, and they did not get that plane to fly the very first time.
mhm,
In fact, I think I read somewhere that it was at least 8 crashes before they got that first plane to fly. And I say
Mhm.
that to say, like, this is one of the things we like depend on and we need, for people who are flying. It's a lot of people I know that are on airplanes when they got to go places this far.
Mhm.
And, the people that invented that, they were not successful at first. They just were
Mhm.
like, okay, we got to figure this out. And so there's always an opportunity back to that kind of message of growth, just the theme in this conversation with like life has so many opportunities for us to grow and evolve. There's so many opportunities to do that. And so if you're doing something and you're like, man, this didn't work out, what's the lesson in that? What can you learn in that? If you just happen to have
Mhm.
something kind of work out, there still should be a lesson in that. There still should be some
Mhm.
kind of opportunity in that because you can make it better. You can do it, even better. But just this idea that if it doesn't work out the first time, then I can't do it, or
Mhm.
I'm just supposed to
Right.
give up, or if it doesn't work out the second time, like, man, it's so many people that are just great, like amazing, top of their, just field. And the reason why is because they were taking those risks and failing and figuring it out and getting help and trying again and doing it different until they got it right. And so, at the very least, if you get nothing else from this whole conversation on growth, is that keep going and don't think that there's a finish line in this. There's so many opportunities, and we ourselves don't always have the answer. Just mentally, right? Like having somebody we
Mhm.
can talk to that can give us those different tools and assets. Sometimes just reaching a goal, having somebody that can help us just set some practical steps and measurable steps to see are we getting closer to reaching that goal? Being able to read, being able to absorb knowledge, being able to learn from others. Sometimes we learn from our mistakes, sometimes we learn from our successes, but they're all opportunities. So I don't even look at them as failures. I just look at them as opportunities because at the end of the day, that's part of it. You're gonna
Mhm.
have some setbacks. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Setbacks are supposed to happen. Man, Teresa, I feel like I have not had a conversation like this. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope people are like taking notes and keeping up with this conversation
Yeah.
because wow, so much
Mhm.
in there. Live your
No,
best life, right? And
mhm,
continue to grow.
absolutely. And all that you do, right?
Teresa, can you tell people how they can get in touch with you, learn
Mhm.
more, if they got more questions or they just want to
Mhm.
work with you, how can they
Mhm.
find you?
Okay. Well, like I stated in the beginning, I'm not an expert. However, I do feel as though I have something that I can offer people. I am on Instagram and Facebook. I have my business account. If anyone wants to keep up with that, it is Decor and More in Store. So that's Decor, the letter N, More, and in store spelled ENSTORE. My business page is on Instagram. You can type and find me as well as Facebook. And hopefully I can continue to do what I do so that you guys can get some beautiful content of my work. The thing I'm really passionate about and like to put so much time and effort into. And of course, I just wanted to thank you again for having me on the show. I really do appreciate this. This has been a great experience. I love what you do, and
Thank you.
hopefully, and hopefully it keeps going in the direction that you like it to go. I do really see good things in your podcast and what you are providing to your listeners.
Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you so much for being here.
Mhm.
I appreciate our listeners for joining us on this
Mhm.
conversation. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Some of you guys are newer. Share this because I feel like
Mhm.
there's always somebody who needs to hear this information.
Mhm.
And people are at such different stages in their life that, like, man, I just, needed that, right? And so be
Mhm.
okay with sharing that, liking it, share your feedback. I always am interested in what people have to say. And thank you guys for listening to the end. You guys helped me out. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
And we will be back next time with some new
Mhm.
things. Check out the other topics we got going on. And
Mhm.
again, just thank you. Have a good one, y'all.